Okay, my name is Willard Schneider. I live southeast of Sherwood Park, and I have a wife. Her name is Edie. Um, we have three girls, and they have all been to Covenant Bay Bible Camp. We have 11 grandchildren, and two of them are close by here. Well, actually, four of them are close by here, and two of them are really into Covenant Bay Bible Camp. They love it. Our girls went to Covenant Bay Bible Camp, and now some of our grandkids are going to Covenant Bay. So we recognize the power of that place, and it's a pleasure for Edie and I to be invested in so many ways at Covenant Bay.
So my wife Eric and I have five kids, 4 boys and a girl. Lincoln, Jake, Sawyer, Ben, and Evelyn. Evelyn's 5 and Lincoln is 13.
Well, in addition to my experience at Covenant Bay, I remember walking a sawdust trail. It was at Elkwater because the NAB church that I grew up in had a camp at Elkwater. And so I remember that camp, and there was no refrigeration. If you wanted to keep the butter hard, you put it in the creek. And if you wanted to keep the milk from souring, you put it in a milk carton, a plastic milk carton, and put it in the creek that was running by. And the water was cold, and that was our refrigeration. I remember that like it was yesterday. And the sawdust trail. And I remember the significance of being at that camp. Camp is no different today.
I came to faith when I was 14 at Covenant Bay Bible Camp.
I grew up in a Christian home. My mom and dad were believers long before I knew them. And they introduced us to faith. And as I became 12, 13, 14, 15, there were young men in our congregation that demonstrated a solid commitment to God's work.
Some of the people in my life, Mike Hofflin was a big one, bringing me to youth group and talking to me about Jesus on the bus and, making the bus ride awkward. And Dave Drabert was a youth pastor at the time, so he was great. And I guess, the camp leaders was a big one, and cabin leaders. And my family was very supportive. My parents weren't Christians, but they were very encouraging. So,
Eddie Younger, Jack Enslin, Al Stober, Herb Martin, Mel Fauser, and these young guys, they were in their mid-20s to early 30s, and they were singing in quartets and trios and things like that. And when I was 14 or 15, they invited me to sing along with them.
The day standing at Covenant Bay Bible Camp in front of all 75 people around a fire, I guess that was definitely a pivotal moment, but I was terrified, yeah. No, they were just telling stories around the campfire, and I just got up and I just stood there, and I didn't know what was going on, and they prayed for me, and it was pretty cool.
Sometimes life brings tragedy, and we have so little control over that. And our son-in-law and our daughter had a little guy, and he was born with a malignant tumor in his abdomen. And we didn't exactly know what it was, but it was a growth, and if you pressed on his abdomen, it was kind of hard. And after some testing at the Children's Hospital in Seattle, we found out that he had a tumor. And at the 11th chemo treatment, he picked up a virus of some kind. And because his immune system had been destroyed by the treatments, he had no way to fight the virus, whatever it was, and it killed him. It was just so hard. And I had a friend come by. I was working out front, and a friend came by, and so we stopped and visited, and she said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Well, it's just a really hard day." "Why is that?" I said, "Well, Montana is going to die, and I know he's going to die." And she said, "Can I pray for you?" So Wendy and I stood at the end of the driveway, and she prayed for me and for Edie and I in that situation. And I'll never forget that. but the trauma and the terror that comes when those kinds of things happen are really hard. But God carried us through that. He actually carried us through that situation. I think he'll be 25. He'll be 25 on November 30th. Yeah.
My hopes for my kids, I guess, that they would give me grandkids, and just that they will grow up to be God-loving citizens, that are positive contribution to society, and just to walk closer to Jesus with every step, every day, just to get to know God a little bit better, and just follow, so they can grow up to be the people that God really intended for them to be.
Well, our kids are adults, but our hope for them at this moment is that they and their spouses are planning to grow old together. Growing old together is a powerful thing when you make a commitment to one another. And my hope is that they are planning and working towards growing old together. And in the process of doing that they all love God. Our grandkids are teenagers, and for them, I would hope that every decision they make would be screened through who they are and what they've learned from a spiritual perspective, and that their decision-making process would be affected by that. And I see it happening because they're all great kids. They're just really good kids, and none of them are off on the wild side. They're just really great kids, and I think that the spiritual foundation that is under them, that has helped them make good decisions about how they live their life, it's been successful. It's been successful. God's promises are that if you teach them, they won't forget that. And so when I think they're making decisions and those decisions are screened through who they are and what they know spiritually, yeah, it's working, absolutely.
I hope that I can give them the proper knowledge of God to drive a desire to learn more about Him, and just walk alongside God and keep their eyes focused on Him.
I hope that my kids remember me for how I love them. My kids and my grandkids. I love hugging my kids and my grandkids, and I love them with an unconditional love.
If I could go back in time and give myself, young Kyle, some advice, it would definitely be to try harder to share my faith, and not just to show faith, but to talk about it more and just share it with as many people as I could. Advice for my kids and future grandkids, I would say, just listen to God, don't take my advice, because I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. And God has, if you're listening to God and you're in the Word, you'll know what God wants you to do, and just to do that, even if I'm telling you not to.
My hope for the church is that we would demonstrate by our love that we are believers. I think Covenant Bay is on a trajectory that we haven't ever experienced before. And it started with the Lodge. I think that the ministry of Covenant Bay has always been fabulous, but limited by facility and resources. And some of that is changing based on what's happened at the Lodge, with the Lodge, and the generating capacity or generating possibilities through the Lodge. So when the Lodge came, we had better facilities. And the Lodge produces income. It's popular in the area. People want to know it and love it and see it and use it. and there's a cost to that. And of course, it's an income generating facility for Covenant Bay. That means that our ministry is going to grow significantly because we have the resources to support that ministry. Ministry always requires resources, both people and financial. And the financial resources, financial income that comes from the lodge will fund those new ministries. When we think beyond the lodge to a new dining hall, that makes our trajectory steeper. Now, that's a challenge, there's no question. It means that we need to pay a lot of attention to the financial aspect of it, as well as the ministry aspect and where the staff comes from and how we fund those staff positions. But when we're on a steep trajectory, it means that you have to pay a lot more attention. Yeah, it takes a lot more leadership, really good leadership, and so that's really important. That would be really important.
My advice for campers would be that they would have a God-filled experience that would not just last the next week or two, that it would be an experience that points them to God throughout the rest of their lives, a staple in their life that they can always turn back to and reflect upon, to be an encouragement to them, to just continue to walk with God.
Campers have so much fun at Covenant Bay, and Covenant Bay has a habit of building slowly in children's lives. It may not, a young person who's never been exposed to spiritual matters may not become a believer the first time they go to Covenant Bay Bible Camp. But we have a habit of doing it every year and inviting them every year and creating situations and fun experiences and great food and great friends every year. And over time, we wear them down. Not that that's necessary, because God's power is, God's Spirit is powerful. And when God is in something, you don't have a chance. You don't have a hope. When the Spirit comes upon a person's life, you don't have a hope. Because God is that powerful, and He transitions and changes lives and transforms us. And He's going to do that with kids at Covenant Bay Bible Camp. In that special atmosphere where kids run and play, and at the same time are coached by great counselors and associate counselors or junior counselors. And the message of salvation is there. It's true, and it's on the surface, and it's changing kids' lives.
Hello, my name is Jillian. I'm part of the Elevate program. I really enjoy the community here, how it supports my faith. This year I've been learning to come to God so that He can fix me up spiritually and help me, rather than fixing myself up so that I can come to God.
Hi, my name is Braden, and my favorite thing about Covenant Bay Bible Camp is probably the new sports I've learned, like Gaga Ball and Tetherball. And how I've grown in a relationship with Jesus and God is in the morning when we do chapel, and John goes up to talk about God and Jesus and how He saved us from sin. And after campfire, when one of the cabin leaders goes and talks about that.
Hi, my name is Joelle. I'm in the Elevate program this year, and I have just really been enjoying spending time with the kids and meeting new people. I've also really liked being able to ask questions to some of the leaders here, just about faith and just like hard questions like that. That's just really helped me grow in my faith this year.
Hi, my name is Jake, and my favorite thing about camp is the wide games, and how I've grown most in my relationship with Jesus and God is when we do cabin time and everybody gets to ask questions, and I've learned a lot about them as what I didn't know.
Camp is so significant. And so Covenant Bay is doing just a fabulous work, and it always has done a fabulous work. It is no different than it's been over the years. So we feel so blessed to be part of an organization that is sharing the message of salvation to adults, young people, and children. And that's a good thing if we can do something like that. And because we are on this great trajectory right now, God has big things in store for Covenant Bay. We just need to hold on. We just need to hold on. This is an exciting venture that we're on, and it's going to move really fast. And it's a good thing we've got these great people on the board, because they're going to be challenged based on the trajectory of what's going on at Covenant Bay.